Flat owners are being hit with larger bills for fire safety work because their buildings aren't tall enough to qualify for funding announced after the Grenfell Tower fire.
The previous government launched the Building Safety Act following the fire in 2017, which killed 72 people. Campaigners say thousands of people are falling through the gaps and it's devastating their lives, as our reporter Tara Welsh explains.
It's becoming all-consuming. We barely sleep at night.
So we feel completely trapped.
I'm on antidepressants and have had 2 heart attacks, 100% due to the stress.
We're being hit with big bills that we can't afford.
All leaseholders are innocent. We should all be treated exactly the same.
This feels like a punishment, but what is the crime?
These are just some of the people facing massive bills to fix fire safety issues in their buildings.
To have anyone, anywhere, living in an unsafe home is one person too many.
In response to the Grenfell Tower inquiry this week, Angela Rayner said no one should be living in a dangerous property. The last government brought in laws to ensure homeowners wouldn't have to pay for cladding removal and other remediation. It said building owners and developers should pay, and there's public funding available too. But some homeowners don't qualify for it. Homeowners that can't access government help have become known as non-qualifying leaseholders, and they include people with 3 or more properties and those with homes in buildings under 11 metres tall.
Throw it, go pow.
Oh! This building is around 9 metres tall.
Kick.
Jake and his parents have outgrown their 1-bedroom flat in Luton, but they can't sell. The building is a fire risk.
So that's where they did the fire risk assessment, where they had to cut a panel to get behind the cladding. And that showed that they have the flammable insulation with no fire breaks.
But because it's under 11 metres tall, Tom is facing a huge bill.
The bill's for £65,000. That was the first that I knew about it. I was absolutely shocked. I just thought it was a typo, to be honest with you. I tried to phone them, but then getting told that that was correct and it's right, that's how much money that I owe them. I was petrified. I was terrified. I just never thought that I'd be having to face a bill of that sort of size. I was not very well when this firstly came out. I had to take a month off of work, sick with stress. I don't think there's been a day that I haven't talked about cladding.
The government won't pay because it says the risk to life is lower for the shorter buildings and works shouldn't be as costly.
We're innocent people, we're hard working, I've never missed a payment, and yet we're getting challenged with things that just aren't feasible. We can't pay this money.
God, we used to love it here, didn't we? You know, coming down here.
It's so bittersweet now.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Colin and Susie own 2 flats in Salford, in addition to their own home. They say what was supposed to be a retirement investment has become a nightmare, as they say they don't qualify for government-backed support for work on their buildings.
Almost gobsmacked, weren't we? We're just, everything we planned for was completely out the window. Where on earth we're going to raise such funds? I mean, we could be on the hook for like £100,000 for each of our 2 apartments. Ultimately, government need to forward fund this, get the remediation done, and just claim all these costs from those actually responsible, not innocent leaseholders that bought in good faith.
I remember where I was. I remember everything about that moment.
Amanda Walker discovered she didn't qualify for government help to cover the cost of removing cladding from her building.
The threat, this sword of Damocles, over my head for 3 long years.
In the summer of 2023, she told the House of Lords of the impact it was having on her.
It's so unjust. I've done nothing wrong and it's destroyed my life already.
She was found dead in her home 6 months after this. Lawyer Liz Ramsden says the law urgently needs addressing.
If the government really focused on this, we could make it work for everybody and protect the leaseholders and, most importantly, make the buildings safe.
The government says there's support available for all leaseholders in relevant buildings to help them with costs by limiting the amount they pay in certain circumstances. It says it will continue to review how it can offer greater protection from costs. But those currently caught up in this say they don't feel protected at all. Tara Welsh, BBC News.
So with us now, Giles Grover from End Our Cladding Scandal Campaign Group. Morning to you,
Morning.
Giles.
Hi.
I mean, we had some devastating, very emotional testimony there about the impact. And you're someone who's also been involved in now a very long-winded campaign in your own situation.
Yeah, so I first found out my home was unsafe literally a month or so after the tragic events at Grenfell. We've been through one round of remediation that's taken 3 years. We thought we'd be able to escape, but like many people across the country, we've got further works that need to be done as well. So it's all still a mess, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that means every night, I mean, in your situation, but in lots of other situations, people are going to bed in buildings that are not safe.
Yeah, it's like hundreds of thousands of people across the country don't know if their homes are safe or not, don't know when it's going to be fixed. And there's a lot more people out there that are still struggling because we've got thousands of buildings haven't been identified yet even.
Also, you're stuck.
Yeah, you're stuck. The lenders say they'll lend, but they're not really doing that in practice. Insurance costs going through the roof. It's always the financial costs people worry about, but it is the mental health impact. It's people wanting to know when they can move on with their lives, the opportunity cost to lives, the financial impact, all walks of life, older people, younger people. You're just trapped, really, still.
What you've got, the government says there's support available for all leaseholders in relevant buildings to help them with costs by limiting the amount they can pay in certain circumstances. We'll continue to review how we can offer greater protection from costs as we accelerate the pace of remediation across the country. Accelerate the pace. I mean, you've already said it's been years for you. What does accelerating the pace... what's an acceptable acceleration of the pace for you?
The government say they're going to accelerate, but the problem is that they aren't focusing on fixing the issues that they've known about. In opposition, they were very harsh and very scathing about the previous government's approach, but they've not actually done anything to address that. Whether you've got non-cladding defects, you've got non-qualifying leaseholders, you've got people in buildings under 11 metres, they're ruled out of help. So they're going to accelerate remediation, but there's too much pain that's being caused by accelerating remediation. You need to fix the issues, then crack on with it.
How would you do that?
Well, there's different approaches in terms of they need to provide more certainty about risk assessment. It's quite a dull topic because everyone focuses on financing and funding, but in knowing full well, consistently, inside and outside, across the country, what's safe and what's not safe, and what needs to be fixed and what doesn't need to be fixed. Because it used to be quite prescriptive regulations, and it's now all sorts of rubbish has been built. So everyone's arguing the toss over, should we fix that, should we fix this? There's relevant defects, there's life-critical fire safety defects, there's wear and tear. So everyone's just disputing it, say, because no one wants to pay for it. Everyone always says residents are at the heart of everything, but their actions never match their words, is the problem.
We heard the outcome of the Grenfell inquiry, and Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister, said, it's uncovered serial incompetence, negligence. She has said the government is acting on its findings and is going to reform the system to ensure that no community will ever have to face a tragedy like Grenfell again.
Sounds good. It's always one words. I mean, this current government, they've only been here 8 months, but they're just doing exactly what the old government was doing, really, saying all the right things, but
well, there's going to be new regulation, stronger regulation, isn't there? More accountability, that's the idea. And 7 companies, I believe, will be refused future contracts and be investigated.
Yeah, but a lot of those 7 those companies have been known for a while that they've, if anyone just spend a couple of days looking at the inquiry, looking at the evidence sessions, we've known for ages what the issues are. So they're starting to talk and say the right things, but it will be years before it's implemented. There's still 9 recommendations that are going to go out for consultation. They might be watered down. They should have just said, OK, this is what we've seen, this is what we're going to do, and we'll get primary legislation within 6 to 12 months to sort this mess out.
Charles, I think a lot of people listening to you will sort of sense a weary tone, and that was a deep sigh. Are there examples of places, buildings that I don't need you to name names, where the system has worked? I mean, where there is, goodwill on all sides and things have been resolved correctly or to people's satisfaction?
There are a handful of examples of those, but they're so inconsistent. Across the country, you might have one developer who is doing the right thing, who is fixing the buildings, who is paying back the money that's been spent, but there's 50 other developers that aren't doing. You see individual success stories sometimes of people who say, I finally managed to sell, I've managed to move on with my life. I've taken a 20 grand hit, but I've moved on with my life. So that's what good success looks like, of people finally being able to escape, even if they've lost their home, or they've lost all their equity, or they've lost all the money.
It's really interesting, Giles. We of course, will follow as things progress. Giles Grover is campaigner for End Our Cladding Scandal, the name of the organisation. Thank you so much.
Cheers.